How's everybody doing today? I certainly hope you're doing well. You know what time it is? It's time for another edition of Story Time. And I like to tell people whether or not it's a true story or not. It is not a true story. It is a story in which I've created. The name of this story is called Ghost of Adelon. So let's go ahead and start. Oh, it's a beauty too. It's a scary one. There was a gentleman by the name of John, and John was a rolling mechanic. You see, John used to work for a big old company fixing cars and trucks and, big old semis and such. And he decided to break away from that. He wanted to start his own business, so that's exactly what he did. And he was out of Oregon, Salem, Oregon. But he'd only been there about 10 years. And every day, before he used to go to work, on Fridays, he would stop by the farmer's market. Pick him up a peach or a plum or an apple, or you know how it is. You go to the farmer's market and get fresh fruits, and well, it's a good time, right? And it's really cost effective that way as well, instead of going to the market and dealing with the lines and all that crap. Hell, John been doing this for a couple of weeks now. And he's doing all right. He's got a couple of contracts with different tow truck companies and different establishments that fix cars and that. So that way they just roll them on out and he makes a little kickback. So here it is about midsummer. Mid-July, actually. He goes to the farmer's market, pick up a nice fresh peach. And he sees this young lady working there, and hell, John, he's about in his mid-30s, and he sees this gal. Boy, she's fine to dine like turpentine. Set her on fire. She's just beautiful. She's got long, beautiful hair. She's got a good demeanor about her, too. And, of course, when guys are interested in ladies just right out the bat, they're looking for the ring. They're looking for that ownership, the band of ownership, right? Well, this woman, she didn't have one. She's single. So he buys himself a peach, and off he goes on his day. He's really looking forward to next Friday, because every Friday he'd go there, go to the farmer's market and pick himself up, something for the road and that. Or if he was in the area, he'd also go during the week. He was really looking forward to it too, because he was hoping he'd see that gal again. I tell you what, she's really easy on the eyes. And she had a really nice voice and really nice demeanor. So the next Friday rolls around and he sees her there again. See, he's not the bashful type. No, he's kind of like Monty. He's got a way with the ladies, boy. He'll walk right up to them and just start a conversation just because. Especially if she doesn't have the ownership band. So he gets to talking to her and so are you from around here? You know how it is, right? Well, hell, she'd lived there all her life. He's like, well, what's your name? She goes, oh, my name's Italia. She's like, what's your name? Oh, well, I'm John. And, I'm a mechanic, and, I just tool around and such and fix these cars and trucks and big old semis and that when they get broken down on the road. She's like, oh, that's interesting. That must keep you busy. And they had a little small talk and such. Well, hell, he'd be there every day to buy specific things only from her. Because he wanted to kind of get to know her. You know how it goes. Well, one thing led to another. And, oh, John, like I said, he ain't bashful. Before you know it, he's kind of asking her out on a date. Asking her if she wants to go dancing and such later that Friday evening. And, of course, she obliges to him and said that she would. So they go out dancing, just having a hoot and hollering good time. And they go their separate ways, No kisses, none of that stuff. Because it's just to have fun and so on and so forth. So the next week, he asked her out on a formal date. We're going to go to supper. Yeah. We're going to have a big old supper and dessert. Maybe go to a movie, something like that, right? You know how it is, fellas. You know how it is. You got to work your way in there, baby. You got to razzle and dazzle. You can't just, let's go dance and be done with it. You got to work for it, baby. So, as the weeks progressed, hell, we're into not quite early September. And they've been dating for some time now. They spend a lot of time together. They sure do. Well, he's going to hit her with the big story, with the big question. He says to her, Italia, we spend a lot of time together and such, and, hell, there's more times than none you're over at my place or I'm over at your place. Why don't we just get a place together? What do you say? She's like, well, gosh, I don't know. I got to think about it. He goes, well, do you think you'll have an answer by Monday? She's like, yeah, let me think about it. So, hell, you know how those ladies are. Those ladies want security. After all, John's mechanic. She ain't got to worry about any issues going on with her car, right? Because that can be costly. And old John, well, I don't know. He just likes her a lot, He likes the way she smells. He likes the way she looks, and she's got a great demeanor. Hell, it could really turn into something. So come Monday, he goes over there to the farmer's market. He's got to go. He's kind of in a rush because he's got a whole laundry list of calls. He goes over there and he's like, so I'll tell you, did you figure out what you wanted to do? She goes, I think it's a good idea. Let's go ahead and do that. I'll go ahead and cancel my lease, and by the time everything's said and done, let's say we move in first week of October. He's like, oh, that sounds great. Hell, being in Oregon, it's always kind of raining a lot. You're kind of drizzly and chilly, a little bite in the air. So they move in together. And they're really working on their relationship. Because all relationships are about communication. If you have excellent communication skills, chances are your relationship is going to last a very long time. Because we're not all mind readers. Some of us are remote viewers, but we're not all mind readers, right? So, they've been living together for about 2 weeks and such, and things are going pretty good. Because I tell you what, when you live with somebody, they can't hide who they are. Their true colors come out sooner or later. Usually it takes about a year, maybe 2. But again, you can't hide who you are. So hell, they've been living together now for over a year. Because now it's the following year. And it's in the month of September. And things are going great. I tell you what. Hell, John's got more contracts with more companies. And Italia's still doing her business. You see, Italia's got a really bright yellow VW Bug. And hell, John, he's got a 1984 Ford Bronco. It's covered so he can have all his tools and such in there. But John got to thinking, it's going to be easy for Italia. It would be easier if she had a truck. Because it's such a pain in the ass. She's got to put all the crates and carts and all that stuff in her VW Bug, and she's got to make 3 and 4 trips back and forth just to set up, tear down, and take all the stuff home. So John had a brilliant idea. Hell, he's a mechanic. He can fix anything. He's got the mechanic eye, meaning he can just look at something and tell you what's wrong with it, or just listen to it for 5 minutes. He's that kind of gifted mechanic. So he kind of hits her with a question. He's like, I got to thinking. Italia, I feel sorry for you. I feel bad for you because sometimes I have to go to work and I have, a laundry list of orders out there, and you got to make trips back and forth, and you've been doing it a very long time, and you know what? I think what we should do is just buy you a truck. It'd be so much easier. She's like, well, I don't know. Can we afford a truck? He's like, listen, baby, I will buy you the truck. You don't owe me anything. Because you need a truck. You can load everything in one shot. take it to the farmer's market, unload it in one shot, and you're done. What do you say? She's like, well, okay. And that's what he does. He gets up on the computer and he's looking through all the little lists in there and all the different trucks, and he comes across a 1976 Ford. Oh, it's a big old truck too. It's got a long bed, and it's red with a white stripe right down the middle. You know the kind. Oh, yeah. So he figures, you know what? I should call this guy up and see if it's still available, because he only wanted $900 for it. He says it's a good working condition, and even if he's telling a story and telling a big old lie, it doesn't matter, because John got a... I tell you what, he's a mechanic. He's got the sight. He's got the ear of a mechanic. He can fix something just like that, just nothing. So he calls up the guy, gets up on the phone. He's like, hello, sir. I was kind of curious if you had that truck still available. And this old man answers the phone. He's like, I got it available. He's like, well, do you mind if I come and look at it today? I don't have any time today, is what that old man said. All right. John said, well, I don't know. How about Friday? Would Friday be a better day? It would be a better day for me. Maybe at about 3:30? All right, how about Friday at 5:30? Because I got to do a bunch of honeydews for my wife. 5:30 works. Call me at 5 o'clock. Hangs up. John's thinking, man, that's kind of rude. You know what I mean? He's just kind of rude. But it doesn't matter. He's going to deal with his rudeness, because that truck's only $900 and he can fix anything. So it doesn't even matter. So Wednesday late afternoon, he goes over to the farmer's market just to see his girlfriend over there by now, right? They've been living together for well over a year. And he says, you know, I'll tell you, I'm going to help you load all of your crates and carts and dollies and everything into my Bronco, and you can load into your Volkswagen today. So that way it's only one trip. You don't have to make 2 and 3 trips. This is crazy. And by the way, I'm going to go look at your truck on Friday. She's like, really? He's going, oh yeah, I know I can get that truck. Guaranteed. Even if it doesn't run, I can buy it. And fix it all up. She's all happy now. So they load up all the crates and stuff. And now, hell, I tell you, she's got a good sense of humor, and so does John. She said, I tell you what, I'm going to race you home, and I bet you I make it to the house before you do. John's feeling pretty confident, because, hell, he's got a Bronco, right? He's got some engine in there. Hell, she's got a little VW Bug. Now, you see, Atalia's VW Bug is bright yellow. Looks like a big old bumblebee running down the highway, you know. And he's got that Ford Bronco. It's navy blue. But I tell you what, it's got some muscle behind it. It's not like a little VW Bug. So he's like, okay, let's race. Well, hell, John been there a little over 10 years. Whereas Natalia been there all her life, so she knows all the little tricks and alleys, ways, and, you know, scoot on home easier. So he's like, all right. So they got everything loaded up, they're side by side, and they're getting ready to race, man. Because, you know what? If he wins, maybe he can get some favors if you get my meaning, right? Whereas if she wins, maybe she get a new washer. Okay, it kind of works out, right? So they're side by side, boy. You're, and she's like, and they got the windows rolled down. Are you ready? Yes, I'm ready. They're like, they take off, boy. She's taking all the side streets and that. He's racing her. He's like, he's running red lights, going through stop signs. Oh, he's cheating, right? They race in, and you know what? No kidding around. They get to the driveway at the same exact time. She's coming in from the right-hand side, and he's coming in from the left-hand side. They both pull into the driveway, and her car hits the side of his navy blue Ford Bronco and leaves a big old yellow strip right down the side of his Bronco. Oh my goodness. She gets out, she's just crying, she's all worried and that. And John pops out of his truck and he goes, baby, don't worry, it's all right. He doesn't start yelling and screaming at her and thinking, oh, this deal breaker, it's over. None of that crap. No, he shows a little bit of empathy and sympathy to her. Something a man would do. Something Monty would do too, right? He just told her, it's all right, doll. It's okay. This will work truck. Don't you worry about it. She's all sniffling and carrying on. So he wants to reassure Italia that it's not a big deal. So he helps her. She's just crying. She's bringing all the crates in the garage. He doesn't care because it's just a work truck. Right? He doesn't care. And he really doesn't care. It's not a big deal. So he's just trying to comfort her and say, you know, it's okay. Don't worry about it. And after all, we're going to go get you a truck. So that way you don't have to make all these trips and such. Don't worry about it, doll. Oh, okay. He cooks her up some real good supper. They're cuddling on the couch. You know how it is. Oh, it's a good time, boy. They lay their heads down. It's Thursday morning. Hell, John's got to go to work. He's got to go to work early. Actually, he's on call all the time. That's the kind of job he's got to do. Where's Italia? She's got to go to the farmer's market. She's going to make all her trips and all that stuff. So Friday runs around, and he's got to call this guy at 5 o'clock sharp because that's what that rude old man said. So, 5 o'clock, well, he's just looking. It's 5 minutes to 5. He figured, you know what? That damn ad is still up. Chances are he already sold somebody else. Crazy old man. He calls him up 5 to 5. He's like, hello? Rings like 3 or 4 times. Finally, that, hello. He goes, yeah, I called you earlier in the week, and I was wondering if I could, you know, come look at that at 5:30. Like I said, I told you to call me at 5 o'clock. You know, the phone. John's getting a little angry now. He's getting a little pissed off because he's saying, okay, now first of all right, this guy's a rude old man. But you know what? Take it or leave it. $900 is a good deal. I can fix anything. I got to get this truck. It's a good-looking truck. I got to get it for my lady. That's what she needs. It's not something she wants. She needs it. So, he's going to deal with it. It's only a couple of minutes, right? Click, click, click. 5 o'clock, exactly, sharp. He calls him back up. Hello? Sir, it's 5 o'clock. I know what time it is. Okay, I was wondering, can I come out there at 5:30 and look at the... Yeah, you can. He goes, okay, can I get the exact address? And the old man goes, well, it's kind of strange. There isn't an exact address because this is a new area. It's not even up on the satellites. So I'm going to give you directions to get how you going to get here. He was like, oh, okay, let me get a pen. So he starts writing it down. All right, now what you need to do is you get on the freeway. Where are you coming from? You come from north, south, east, west. He goes, well, I'm about, north of Salem. He goes, all right, what you need to do is get on the freeway and you head south. You're going to go down about 6 miles, all right, on the outskirts of Salem. And you're going to take an exit, the Adelon exit. John's thinking it's an Adelon. I've never heard of that. But he's figuring, whatever. It's a new area, so how would you know? What he's going to do is he's going to take a right. You're going to see a telephone pole. It's going to be painted green. Right after that telephone pole is going to be a dirt road. You're going to turn down that dirt road. Just follow the road down there. You'll see my house in the truck. Just knock on the door and I should answer. But in case I don't forget to take your shoes off at the door. Because my wife get real mad about the carpet. Yes, sir. Okay, bye. Hangs up the phone. He's looking at his nose, man. He's like, okay, this is weird. Okay. Outskirts of Salem, I need to go about 6 miles. I need to Adelon exit. He forgot to get the spelling, but it's close enough, right? Okay, takes a right on Adelon. There's going to be a green telephone pole, and then he's supposed to turn down a dirt road right after that. Okay, he's got it. He gets in his truck. He's thinking, okay, he's doing his MapQuest shit, looking for Adelon. There is no Adelon. But he figures, well, the old man said it wasn't on the satellites, so it's a new area, whatever. So he gets down there, and he starts... He's a dry boy. because he wants to make damn good and skippy sure he gets that truck, and he needs to see that truck before it gets dark. Because we're talking, it's been over a year now, see? There's a little bite in the air. He's got his jacket on and that, a little chilly. He's driving down there, and sure enough, there's an exit, Adelon. He pulls off, he turns right on Adelon. He's looking for that green power pole, which is bizarre. So indeed, he sees the green power pole. He's looking, and there's a lot of brush and all kinds of stuff there. He sees that dirt road, he turns in. When he turns in the dirt road, where, you know where the tire marks are? Oh, there's grass all up in there. There's twigs and branches down. I mean, it's like nobody had driven down that dirt road in years. He's driving down there. He's a little nervous and apprehensive. You know how it is. A rude old man. I mean, come on. So he drives down, and you know what? He's starting to see some property. He sees a house, he sees a barn, and he sees an outbuilding. And next to the outbuilding is a carport, and there is that red truck with a white stripe right down the middle. He's like, oh, it's on now. It is on. He pulls in there, and in the center of it, it's like a cul-de-sac type place. You know, a cul-de-sac driveway or whatever, roundabout, is a water fountain. It's huge too, but it's not on. And it's getting a little dark, you know, so he needs to look at that truck before it gets all the way dark. So he kind of pulls in there, and he walks towards the truck, and he's kind of eyeballing a little bit, and he doesn't want to be rude, even though the old man is rude. And he walks over there, and he hits the doorbell. And the doorbell sounds like a grandfather clock. It's very strange. Ding, dong, dong, ding. Ding, dong, dong, dong. Nothing. Air. He's trying to listen for footsteps. You know how it is. Huh. Okay. Then he decides he's going to give it a man pound. Because he's getting impatient. First the old man was rude. Now he's not answering the door. What the hell's going on? He wants to buy this truck. He's ready to go. Nothing. He decides to hit that doorbell one more time in case he's somewhere else in the house. That's what he does. So he hits the doorbell again. Ding, dong, dong, dong. Dong, dong, ding, dong. He's like, screw that. I don't have time for that. There's hundreds of other vehicles to buy. I don't need to put myself through this. And as he turns around to leave, he hears this very faint voice that says, "Come on in. The door's open. Make yourself comfortable. I'll be right there." He opens the door. He looks in, and the carpet is immaculate. He remembers that old man told him to take his shoes off at the door. Sure did. John slips off his shoes, boy, and he puts them off by the door. He's kind of looking around. You know how it is when you're in a strange place. Never been there before. It doesn't matter if your friends have. The first time you've been there, you're eyeballing everywhere, right? This floor is immaculate. Not a piece of dust on that floor. So here he is in his socks, and he's kind of walking around, and there's no couch in the living room at all. There's no chairs in the living room at all. He goes into the kitchen. There are chairs there. And it is so hot in this house. It's like 95 degrees in the house. I mean, it is hot. So he takes off his coat, and he slips it over the chair, and he has a seat. He's just kind of waiting for the old man to come out so he can look at that truck. Now it's starting to get dark. It's not quite where the daylight savings is, but it's going to get dark at about 7 o'clock, 6:30, something like that, right? And here it is. It's creeping up on 6 o'clock itself. So he's got a half an hour to get his happy ass out there, so pop the hood and look around. So he's patiently waiting, and he looks over on the table, and there's a newspaper there. There's also a plate with an English muffin. The English muffin looks like it's been there for 55 years because it's black and purple and orange and green, and it's disgusting. But he gets to thinking, okay, this is an elder, maybe he found it under the stove, who knows what. So he sees that paper, and he's kind of inquisitive, and he figures, He grabs a piece of paper and he looks at the front page. It's all in black and white. And the year says 1955. He's thinking, what the hell is a newspaper doing that says 1955 on it? This house is damn near brand new. What the hell's going on here? Again, he figured the guy's an old man and who knows what. So John says to him like this, "Sir, you know, I got to get going because my girlfriend is waiting for me, and if we can't do it today, that's okay. I'll just come back another day." So he scoots out the chair, and it makes the noise against the floor like, brrr. You know how it is with the chair on the floor. He stands up, he goes to grab his coat, and he hears a faint voice in the background. "Hey, young man, give me a hand down there." He gets up and he tries to follow where he heard that from. And he looks down and there's some stairs going down to the basement. He's kind of apprehensive now. He hasn't seen the old man. He's been extremely rude to him. He's late. What to do? But John's a big old boy. He is. He can take care of himself. You know. He didn't bring a weapon with him, but, you know, he ain't going to let nobody push him around. So he figures, all right, I'll go down there. Here he is in his socks. And I'm telling you, it's so hot in there, he's just sweating. He starts going down the stairs. And there's plenty of light down there. He kind of looks around the corner there, and he sees these mounds. These mounds are huge. They're monstrous. These mounds are like 9 feet tall. About 12 feet wide all the way around, of coats. Every different size, every different color. It's fascinating. Then John gets to thinking, well, maybe he does donations for churches. He's making excuses because something is just not right. As he moves around this pile over here, he comes to another pile that's about 6 feet tall, 8 feet wide, and it's nothing but shirts. Every different color, every different size. He's starting to get a little nervous. And all of a sudden you hear, the frickin' door is now closed. The one he came down from. So he turns around, he races up, and he looks up the stairs. Sure enough, the door is closed. Well, he didn't close the door. Somebody else did. He's getting real nervous now. So he goes up the stairs real quick and he tries the door. It's locked. He's thinking, okay, this is bullshit now. Okay, something is very wrong with this. He started to get mad. He started yelling, "Listen, old man, open the door. I got to get home. My girlfriend's waiting for me." Nothing. No answer. But seeing that it's stairs, it's not like he can race, run, and, you know, hit the door open with his shoulder. He's got to figure out another way to get that door open. And that's what he does. He grabs that door handle and with his shoulder, he's hitting it as hard as he can, boy, because he's pissed off now. Because he's been intentionally locked. Yeah, locked down in that basement. Oh, and he's furious, too. He is pissed off. His shoulder starts hurting, so he turns to the other shoulder. He's hitting as hard as he can hit it. And chances are that's a 2-hour door. You know the kind, guys. If you've ever been in construction. Yeah, those 2-hour doors are son of a bitch. Because they're metal on one side and wood on the other. So the fire didn't make it to the main house. And he's hitting it with all that he can hit it with. It's not budging. So John goes back downstairs and he thinks, there's got to be windows. Maybe there's an egress that he can escape from. Oh yeah, there's windows, but they're only this frickin' tall and about that long. He can't fit his body through there. It is so hot, he is sweating profusely. He's scared, he's nervous, and he's pissed off. So all those combined, you're using a lot of energy. And it's hot as hell. So here he is in his socks. Goes around where the coats were and then where the shirts were. And he starts looking around the basement even more, seeing if he can find a tool, a crowbar, so he can go back upstairs and break that door open so he can escape from this menagerie he got himself in. So he comes to another pile. This pile is 8 feet tall, 10 feet wide, all the way around, of shoes. Every kind of shoe you can imagine. Tennis shoes and boots and slippers and dress shoes. It's horrible. Now he's starting to build the picture in his brain of what the hell is going on. He walks a little bit further. He sees 3 buckets. One bucket is a white bucket. The other 2 are orange buckets. He looks in one bucket, and it's full of watches. Every kind of watch you can think of. Plastic bands, leather bands, cloth bands, Rolexes, you name it, it's in there. He looks at another bucket, and it's nothing but jewelry. Rings, and necklaces, and earrings. It's disgusting. He looks at another bucket, cell phones. Every combination you can think of. Smartphones, ghost phones. He knows what's up. All this stuff, or the people's things of the other victims of the Ghost of Adelon. Oh yeah, that's what's going on here, buddy, and he knows it. And again, he is sweating so profusely. I mean, the sweat is just pouring off his face because it's like 95 degrees. He looks out one of the slat windows, and guess what? It's pitch black out. It's now dark. He immediately reaches into his pocket to grab his cell phone so he can call his girlfriend to let her know what's going on. As soon as he opens it up, there's no signal, and it's just black. He's in trouble. Now he's getting thirsty. Yeah. Because he's sweating. All of his fluids are coming out of his body. What's he going to do? He starts screaming and yelling. You better get... Raising all kinds of hell. But then he gets to thinking. Because he's a mechanic by trade. And he knows every last detail of the motor. He knows damn good and well that energy is everything. So he can't get all worked up and start screaming and yelling and carrying on. Because he's going to be burning those calories that he so desperately needs. He can't have that water excreting from his body, knowing that he could go into dehydration. It's not like there's a faucet anywhere. So he starts looking around, looking at tools, things that he can make to escape. No crowbars, no nothing. There's just a bunch of shoes, coats, shirts, pants, jewelry, cell phones. It's horrifying. And he's thirstier than hell. So he goes onto the left-hand side of that basement. And there's stone in a circle. He's like, oh, it's a well. He's like, oh, this is awesome. But there's no bucket. There's no way to acquire the liquid that is down below, if any at all. So he races over to one of the buckets and grabs a watch, tosses it down to see how far that liquid is. He figures that splash is about 20 feet down. But how is he going to get that water to where he can drink it so that way he doesn't dehydrate? Again, being a mechanic, you have to use ingenuity. You have to use ingenuity so that way you can accomplish what you need to accomplish in emergency. So he gets to think of what to do. He's got the idea. He's going to go over to one of the buckets that has all the cell phones. He dumps out all the cell phones. He races over to the big pile of tennis shoes, and he starts pulling out the strings, the shoestrings of those shoes. And he ties them together about 30 feet long. He ties those strings onto the bucket so he can drop the bucket down into the well, scoop up the water so he can get something to drink. So he's got everything lined up. He paces it off 30 feet because for every one step is 3 feet. Right? He's got everything set. He takes the shoelaces and he ties it off on his belt loop. In the case it slips or something goes wrong, it still will be affixed and he doesn't have to start over again. So he's lowering down the bucket into the well. He's going to get himself something to drink. He's so thirsty and he's still sweating profusely. He lowers the bucket down and he hears this very strange noise. It sounds like a shower. It's like, and he doesn't understand what the noise is. And then all of a sudden this mist starts coming up. Kind of like dry ice. Right? He pulls the bucket up and the bottom of the bucket is gone. It's acid in there, not water. He's in dire straits. He doesn't know what to do. He knows that if he yells and screams and... So there's a chair by one of the slat windows and he sits himself down because his shoulders are just killing him. He's still sweating profusely and he's so thirsty. And he decides, I've got to rest. And he closes his eyes. And then he wakes up. And when he wakes up, guess what he sees? He sees sunlight, so he knows it's the next day. But he slept through the entire night. And as he gets up out of the chair, he goes to look to see if that door is open. By chance, it is not. He walks up the stairs and he's exhausted and he's very thirsty. He's so thirsty that his lips are now becoming chapped. That's a bad sign. Well, hell, back at the home front, Italia is extremely worried now. Because John's been gone before. He gets these calls and he's gone for 8, 12 hours. He's got to pluck engines and all that craziness. But John always calls. John's that kind of guy. He's responsible. He's prompt. It's not like John not to call. Something's wrong. So Talia's very, very concerned. She's calling his cell phone. It's going to voicemail every stinking time. Well, Italia knows, being in that area for all of her life, she knows she can't call the police until it has gone into a 24-hour lapse. Because they'll tell you there's nothing we can do until that happens. In some states it's 48. She's desperately waiting. And then she remembers, you know what? John had a lot of contracts with the police department, fire departments. Maybe she can call one of the officers there, and they'll know who he is and maybe put some sort of search out for him. So she calls him up, and she's like, you know, John, the guy that works on all your vehicles on occasion when you're stuck out on the road? Yeah. He's disappeared. I don't know what's going on. And the officer tells her, you know something, there's nothing we can do until it lapses into 24 hours, and you have to file a police report. And only at that time will we look into it. Did y'all have an argument? I mean, people do disappear because of different reasons. She's like, no, we didn't. He was going to go buy me a truck, and he went to go look at it. And then the officer said, what did you just say? Well, he went to go look at a truck that he saw, in an advertisement, and he never came back home. He's like, well, what's the address? She's like, I don't know. Well, what do you mean you don't know? Because I didn't take down the directions. John handled all that. He goes, all right, what kind of vehicle does he have? What kind of vehicle did he drive down there with? Well, he drove down there with 1984 Bronco. The 1984 Broncos do not have the GPS in them. They don't even have the black boxes in them, as far as I know. Maybe they did in 1979. Well, maybe it's got the black box, but it doesn't have the GPS chipping in there, so that way they can follow you around. So he's in deep trouble. There's no way to find him. She's like, okay, all right, well, can you check his phone records? He's like, okay, we can pull his phone records, we can find out who made the call and where the call came from, the last one, and go from there. Hell, 24 hours went by. Italia went down there and filled out the police report, the whole 9 yards. There's no sign of John. John hasn't called. John is nowhere to be found. So hell, 72 hours pass. They got dogs out there looking for him. They got all the police cars looking for him every direction, helicopters, volunteers. There's no sign of John. She's constantly calling his cell phone. Goes to voicemail. She doesn't even know what's going on. It's not like John to not call, because John is the prompt kind of guy. He'll always call you and let you know if he's going to be late or tied up and such. Days turn to weeks. Weeks turn to months. There's no sign of John. John hasn't called. There's no message. Nothing. They haven't even found his vehicle, for Christ's sakes. Years go by. Italia gets to think, you know something? I can't wait forever. Maybe John decided that the relationship was over and just took off. I don't know. Maybe something horrible happened, but I don't know. I can't stop my life waiting to find out. So Italia decided to live her life. And one of her girlfriends said, hey, there's a big old car show. Brand new cars and such. Why don't you go along? She decided to do just that. She met a man there. Oh, yeah. This fella, well, he was into cars all right, but it wasn't old clunkers. He wasn't a mechanic either. What he did was, well, he showed prize cars, antique cars, 57 Chevys, 49 Packers, 69 Dodge Chargers. He even had a Goliath, which is extremely rare. Oh, I tell you what, he polished them up real good, and they're just having a little conversation. And, well, his personality's just not like John, but he's a different individual. What do you expect? They exchanged numbers and such, because I tell you what, Italia's ready to move on with life. That's what it's all about. You got to live your life, buddy. One thing turns into another, and before you know it, old Rick and Italia, they're all hooked up now. She moves out of her place, moves into his place. She's still doing the farmer's market. Because after all, she's been there all her life. Yep. Then one day, old Rick there, he was thinking, you know something? Me and my buddies, we're going to get together and we're going to have a demolition. Because that's what it's all about having fun. That's what life is all about. You got to have fun. Sure, everybody has a little bump in the road, but you got to have fun. So he starts looking online there to see if he can find old clunker. He can do his little derby with, right? With his pals. He's looking online. He's like, oh, yeah, that's perfect. 1984 Bronco. Navy blue. He's like, I tell you, here, check this one out. This is perfect. Look at it. She looks at that photograph that is online of a 1984 Bronco that is navy blue. And it's got a yellow streak right down the side. That's John's truck. It sure is, because when John and Italia were racing home, remember? And they came to the driveway, her yellow Bumblebee VW Bug scraped the side of John's 1984 Bronco. Her heart stopped. But you see, she couldn't say anything. She couldn't say anything as much as she wanted to, because she's with Rick now. And out of respect, and not knowing the circumstances in which the seller was selling the vehicle, she couldn't say a word. Oh no, not a peep. But she wanted to find out for herself what happened. So she's encouraging Rick, call him, find out if it's still available. And what was the price? $900. Oh yeah. So Rick calls up the number and he's like, yeah, I'm interested in your 1984 Bronco you got online here. I was just gonna, yeah, what about it? Was it still available? Yeah, it's available. He goes, well, would it be all right if I came here today at 3:30 in the afternoon? No, you can't. How about 5:30? Call me at 5 o'clock. Hangs up the phone. Rick's kind of thinking, he's used to dealing with professionals. He's not used to dealing with rude people. He's like, man, this guy's rude. All right, I'll call him back at 5 o'clock. I mean, the price is right. It's only $900. 1984 Bronco. So he's sitting at home just doing the bills. You know how you do. It's about 5 minutes to 5. He figured, well, I'll call him. You know, it's only 5 to 5, right? Calls him up and he goes, yeah, I was calling about your Bronco. We talked earlier. I told you to call me at 5 o'clock. Hangs up the phone. He goes, man, this guy is just rude. But for $900, he ain't that rude. Right? And of course, Natalia's egging him on. Oh, yeah, that's the perfect one. But she can't say anything about John. Oh, no, she can't. But she knows that is John's vehicle. She knows it for a fact. Just got the yellow street mark down there from her car. She's got to find out. She's like, okay, listen, Rick, when you call him back at 5 o'clock, put it on speaker, and I'll write down the directions. He goes, yeah, that's a great idea. A couple of minutes goes by. It's exactly 5 o'clock. He calls him again. It's like, yeah, I was wondering if that vehicle... Yeah, it's available. All right, can I get the address of where you're located? Well, it's a new area. It's not on the map. I'll just give you the directions. Where are you coming from? Well, I'm just about a mile south of Salem, Oregon. All right, what you do is you go 5 miles. You'll see the Adelon exit, and you take a right. You're going to see a green telephone pole. And you're going to see a driveway. Take a right there, and I'll be right there. Okay, just go down that driveway, you'll see it. Hangs up the phone. Natalia's writing all this stuff down. She's thinking, man, that guy is really rude. See? She's like, listen, Rick, I know you like to handle these matters by yourself, but I really would like to go with you, just kind of see how you work a situation. Well, seeing how Rick is all boisterous and has a little ego about it, it's like, yeah, baby, I'll show you. You can come along. So, they get in their vehicle. They got to be there at about 5:30. Plenty of time to be there. They're driving down the road. And she's like, I don't ever remember an Adelon exit. Because I've been here all my life. I've never heard of it. He goes, neither have I, but who cares? The price is right. So sure enough, there is an Adelon exit. They take a right. They're looking for the green power pole. There's the green power pole. They're driving a little bit more, and sure enough, there's a driveway. But it's an old dirt road kind of driveway. And again, the grass is growing up there. It looks like nobody's driven on that thing in years. He drives on down there, and it's a long, long driveway. And you see the house, a barn, an outbuilding, and a carport. There it is. 1984 Bronco, navy blue. The yellow streak down it. But again, Natalia can't say anything. She's mum. She's going to find out what's going on here, once and for all, for herself. Oh, yeah. And if there's anything funky going on, she's going to turn it into the authorities. Yeah, because she knows them all by now, right? So they both kind of go up there and they're kind of looking at it. They don't want to be rude. They figure they'll go knock on the door, ring the doorbell and all, take a look at it. And Rick doesn't have a clue. He's oblivious. But Natalia, she can't wait. She can't wait to see who's going to open that door. Because if John opens that door, there's going to be problems. But if John doesn't open the door, there's still going to be problems. Right? So Rick goes over there and he hits that doorbell. The doorbell sounds like grandfather clock. Ding dong, ding dong. Dong, dong, ding dong. Nothing. Nobody answers the door. Well, Rick, being polite, figured, well, he is kind of an old man. Maybe his hearing's off. He hit that again. Ding, dong, dong, dong. Dong, 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 dong. So Italia's like, maybe you should knock on the door. That's what he does. He goes about mid-level of the door. He's like, bum, 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 bum. And when he did that, the door opened a little bit. Just a little bit. It was ajar. And he hears this faint voice that says, "Come on in. Make yourself comfortable. Be sure to take your shoes off at the door." I'm Montagraph, and if you can't speak freely, you're simply not free.